Seaweed. Doesn't that look delicious? Did you know seaweed contains what? I've heard different reports. Some people say 70, some people say 100. Different micronutrients in it. And I can see why. It looks like it does. But you know, I can never bring myself to eat seaweed. And people buy it in the grocery stores all dried up and whatnot, and they love the stuff. Well, maybe they don't love the stuff, they just know that it's good for them, so they eat it anyways. But what I like to do with this seaweed is I like to make seaweed tea or fertilizer out of it. Now there's a couple ways that you can do this. One way is to take this and spread it out like in the lawn or something, somewhere like on a board, and dry it really good in the sun for about a week or two. And then when it's dried, then you can store it and then use pieces of it to make your own small amounts of seaweed tea. But what I like to do is I like to get a bucket full, and then I fill this bucket up with water and I let it sit. And then what I do is I use the water from it to water my outdoor plants. I don't water my indoor plants because I don't like the smell of it, and it can get pretty rank. So what I do is fill this up with water. So it's about, actually, this is about half full of seaweed, and then I'm going to fill it up to the top with water, and then I'm going to put a lid on it, and then I'm going to let it sit for about a week and let it get nice and ripe, if you know what I mean. And then I will pour off the water, and then when the water is done, like what I do is I don't saturate my plants. I'll take like a cup or two of it and put it on each, like tomato plants or my pepper plants, and I'll just water around the base of the plant with like a cup or two of it. And then when the water's all gone, what I do is I fill it back up again, and then it won't be as strong, but it's still very good. And I just keep doing this. And one bucket like this, I'll just keep filling it back up. For 10 or 15 tomato plants, it will last me all summer long until this is completely spent. And now a lot of people will take this seaweed and they'll take and put it bare right around their plants, and let the rain just kind of soak it in. And you can do that too, use it as a mulch. I don't do that because I don't like the looks of it as a mulch, and it's pretty nasty, ugly looking, and it just looks bad. And I think that it may also encourage bugs and whatnot. I've seen a lot of flies and stuff around it, so I don't like to do that. I just use it as a tea. Now there are a couple things to also consider when you're collecting seaweed. In a lot of places, some places it's illegal to actually go and harvest seaweed because they consider it a marine plant. So you just make sure that you check your local restrictions. Some places they'll let you harvest up to 5 pounds, 10 pounds, and even in some places you actually have to have a fishing license because it's considered marine life. So just make sure that you check and follow all the rules, because you don't want to just go out and start harvesting it and then get in trouble. So yeah, just check, and you can just look online, just Google your area, seaweed harvest, and then the name of wherever you're at. So just make sure that you follow that. And a lot of people don't know that is considered a marine plant, and so it is regulated in most areas that I've ever gone or seen. So you want to check that. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to fill this up and let it sit for a week or two and scoop it off, and that's all you have to do with it. This is the easiest. I think a lot of people like to complicate things. They like to just overthink, and it's not that hard. You just drain it off and whatnot. Now if you're going to use this as a dry form, I've seen a lot of people go and harvest this and they'll lay it out in the sun on a rack or a board or rocks or something. Dry it really good in the sun, and some of this has been drying because it was in this bucket for a couple days. You can hear it's kind of crunchy, but that's all it does. And then when it's dried, you can just throw it into a bag or something and then just use it slowly and use it a little bit at a time, and then you break it down. I've actually seen some people put it in their blender, and I just I'm sorry, I can't bring myself to eat this. You guys, there are a lot of brave souls out there, and I've seen people doing that, but of course this is a different type of seaweed. Any kind of, I mean, they got like bulls, I don't know, I'm not going to go into all that, but anyways, they've got like bull kelp and things like that people will also, so it's all considered seaweed. That, as far as I'm concerned, there are just so many different varieties, so there's not just one. But anyways, that's how I make my seaweed tea, and it doesn't take a lot. one small bucket of this seaweed will give you enough fertilizer for 10-15 plants all summer long. So if you had a few buckets of this, you probably got enough for your whole garden. There's a lot of nutrients in this, lots of them. I've heard from 70 to 100. So if you live in an area somewhere along the coast, then go ahead and harvest some, following the regulations. Harvest yourself some seaweed, and you've got your own homemade fertilizer. Now if you have to, and you can't get any of it anywhere, you can also go and buy seaweed in some health food stores and whatnot, and then crunch it all up and mix it with water and do it that way. But I think that's just incredibly expensive. That's just not cost effective to me. I think you're better off driving all the way to the coast, even if you live in Michigan, than spend that much money. But anyways, that's how I make my seaweed fertilizer. All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch y'all later.